Well, thank you very much for having me. As Matt said, I work with brokers all over the country and helping them figure out how to reinvent themselves. So how many people have a broker that looks like this, or a manager? I'll give you a second.
There it is.
I'm not talking about the flat top. Okay, so here's the challenge that we have in our industry right now. Because of the fact that the market has been what it's been, I don't have to tell you guys what that's been all about the last few years, the brokers, obviously, just like a lot of you, are struggling to make money. So as a result of that, they're having to cut expenses and doing all the things that they've done. And over that period of time, they've not kept up with the innovation that's required to please what consumers are looking for. You spend all day listening to innovative ideas, technologies, and ways to do business. Because why? Because the consumer expects that, right? If you don't offer the consumer what they want, what will they do? They're going to go away. And so unfortunately, a lot of brokerages are not keeping up with that innovation. And if it isn't up to you guys doing it on your own by coming to things like this, you're going to be in trouble. And so what we do at our companies, we help the brokers understand that, because at the same time, you're a consumer as well. So you being a consumer and someone that works for a real estate brokerage company, if that brokerage company doesn't keep up with innovation, what are you going to do? You're going to go somewhere else. And so that's not a good situation for the broker. So I always talk about the fact that there's been a paradigm shift. But when I talk to people about reinventing their businesses, I'm not telling them to wholesale change every single thing that they do. Prospecting works. But now you have to prospect a little bit differently, right? You have to prospect online, as we talked about earlier with the social media discussions. Okay? You have to have do you have to have a large office anymore? No, because you can do business on your iPad and on your phone. How do you engage consumers? In the past, you used to engage consumers by having open houses and meeting them at the country club or at the board, and you still do that. We're not saying don't do that, but now you have to engage them online also. Again, going back to social media and how that operates. Okay, is print media dead? Not exactly, but you also have to spend time going online and making sure that you get your message out there so people know who you are and they want to do business with you. And then finally, if someone walked into your office tomorrow, would you let them sit there for 30 minutes? What are we doing when we don't get back to internet consumers right away? We're effectively making them sit there. And so when we're trying to go out there and we say, look, we've got this brand, whether it's the company, whether it's the agent, whatever it is, and we're not treating them the way they want to be treated, then we are hurting our brand. And it's very important that we understand that going forward. Okay, so here's the emerging brokerage paradigm in our view. Okay? It starts with the broker and his or her management team. The broker and his or her management team need to get it. How many brokers are in here right now? Okay, so you must get it, right? Because otherwise you wouldn't be here. How many agents are here who have brokers that maybe don't get it? Okay, just a few. I'm not going to name any names or say, I haven't taken your picture or anything like that. Okay, but the bottom line is, if the broker and his or her management team does not get it, if they don't reinvent themselves, then it's going to be very difficult for them to do the things they need to do to be successful and to help you be successful. Next thing is you have to have an engaging web presence. Everybody knows the stats. 90% or so of internet consumers start their search online. So if you don't have an engaging web presence, and we heard one of the speakers talk about today, that really draws people in and gets them excited and helps them to interact with you and get to know you, because, I mean, do most consumers just pick up the phone and say, hey, I want to buy a house? They're figuring out who you are online. If you go to my LinkedIn profile, for example, you'll see, I don't know how many contacts I've got, over 700 or 800, something like that. I know for a fact that people are checking me out. You might check me out after today or before you saw my name on the thing. And if I'm not in there with some sort of credibility that I know what I'm doing and I've got experience, then chances are you might not want to do business with my company. And the same thing happens with you. And so if you don't have an engaging web presence that helps people understand that you are the professional, you are the person in that market that knows what you need to know to help them, they may not do business with you. The third piece of the pyramid is driving and engaging and responding to internet traffic. So the whole internet marketing piece, syndication, all those things. Okay? If you don't have those first three things, again, especially people in this room who I consider to be the agent of the future. Are you the agent of the future? Yeah! Okay, so if you don't have those things, or if the broker doesn't have those things, are you going to be likely to work for that person? I wrote a blog about 2 or 3 months ago, and I said, why would I work for your company? And I said, look, I'm an educated person, I've been around, I've got a lot of sales experience, etc. Here are the questions I'm going to ask you as an agent looking to be the agent of the future. What does your website look like? If it's not a great website, that's going to turn me off. Tell me about your internet marketing. How are you sending your message out there? Tell me how you're going to drive leads to me. Okay? And those are the things that you have to understand, because without those first three things, the brokerage is not going to exist going forward, and you're not going to go work for that company because you can do some of that stuff on your own, or you're going to find somebody else that can give you the things you're looking for. Okay, so here's another thing I talk about, and that is be true to your model. Too many brokerage companies will go out and try to copy the other guy. So I'm sure there's some Keller Williams people in here. Keller Williams comes into a market, and all of a sudden everybody thinks they have to be like Keller Williams because Keller Williams has been very successful. Exit, I know, is here also. You know, you could be very... Okay. I'm sorry. Now you screwed up my train of thought. I'm not going to call out anybody anymore. No, so you have to be true to your model. So, for example, all right, who goes to Starbucks? Okay, would you ever go buy coffee at McDonald's? All right, I'm trying to prove a point here. Okay, my point is I don't want to go to McDonald's. I don't want to sit at McDonald's, and even though Starbucks is more expensive, you know what? I feel pretty cool when I go to McDonald's. It's an awesome experience. I'm sorry, Starbucks. It's an awesome experience. It's late in the day. I told you I'm getting ready to go back to my house. All right, so you can be true to your model. You don't have to change. You can be successful. You can have a traditional brokerage company with traditional splits, be successful, and you can be Exit or Remax or Keller Williams or whoever and be successful too. You don't have to change, but you have to understand what is your model. Okay, if you're a discount broker, you can't do many things for the agents, right? Because you're not making as much money. Okay, if you're a traditional broker, then the agents are going to expect that you do a lot of things for them, because why would you work for them for 65% split? So this is what I tell people all the time. What are you laughing about? This is what I tell people all the time. Again, remember, my clients are brokers, and what I tell them all the time is don't try to be who you're not. Be who you're supposed to be, and you will attract the people that are going to be attracted to that. There's going to be some people attracted to that model, some people attracted to another model. It's okay. There's plenty of business out there for everybody, and I think it's important to be true to your model. Okay, so what does the owner, or what should the owner look like? In my opinion, the owner needs to be a visionary. Okay, the owner needs to be someone who's very technology-oriented, technology-focused, and has people that he holds accountable, or she holds accountable, to making those things happen. That's what the owner should look like. Does everybody agree with that? Okay, good. So I'm waiting for somebody to try to trip me up here. What does a manager look like? The manager should also be tech-savvy, should also be motivational. Now, let me ask you a question. I ask this all the time. Should managers be called managers anymore? Why not? It's a misnomer, yeah, okay. The manager's job is a really, really tough job these days because there's so many moving pieces. So in my opinion, I think the manager needs to really be more of a motivator and a coach, right? Because a lot of managers like to be deal doctors, right? And they're really, really good at that, but maybe they're not so great at technology. So what I tell people all the time is let's figure out what's that person's role and where should we put them. And maybe you should have one manager be in charge of technology, another manager be in charge of motivation or whatever. But I think that whole manager role is really critical right now, and I think there's a whole transformation of what managers look like that's going to happen over the next 5 years or so, because a lot of managers are getting older, and there's a whole new crop of younger managers looking to come in, and they're going to be different than the managers were 5 or 10 years ago. Okay, so what should the staff look like? In our opinion, and I'd be curious to know what everybody says out there, I think the staff should be like a concierge staff. So just like we're trying to create a great experience for the consumer, I say you have to create a great experience for the agent, right? Why wouldn't an agent, look, the real estate has become somewhat of a commodity, right? Because like someone said earlier, you can get the information online. Splits, unless you're a total virtual or Remax or more or less, the same in a market. So what makes you different? It's the experience that you deliver. And so you have a staff that should be able to deliver a great experience. So you go out there and you just love who you work for because you've got these great staff behind you supporting you. Okay, online strategy. Here, just click through the whole slide there so we speed it up because I'm running out of time. The whole internet marketing strategy to me is one big strategy. Okay? Some people talk about social media, talk about websites, everybody talks about getting back to consumers. I say you got to look at it all as one. You drive traffic through social media, listing syndication, and all the things that we've talked about today. You engage that traffic by having a great user interface, by having relevant information on your site that engages consumers. then you have to have the response. Because what good is it to drive all that traffic to your site, engage those consumers on your site, and then leave them hanging? 48% of agents do not respond to internet leads. You guys know that stat? So if you know that that's the case, you can set yourself apart in the market, because if you get back to people right away, or if your company has a method by which to do that, there's a better chance that you're going to get that business. And then finally, post-close, I think a lot of companies make a mistake by not maintaining that relationship online after the closing. Because that consumer is going to buy a house again in 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 years. Did you know that 90% of consumers are willing to use the same agent again, but most can't remember who they were? That's a bad stat. And so why? Because after that sale, it kind of stops. And so if we had a way to keep in touch with people over time online the way they want it, with the same relevant information that they'd be getting if they were buying a house, then they'd be more likely to stay in touch with you. Okay, finally, mobility has changed everything. And so, how many people feel like they need a private office anymore? That's awesome. Good. No, you feel like you need or you don't need? Okay. All right. Well, I would, again, remember my customers are brokers, okay? And the brokers are getting hammered because they're paying all these leases. I walk into offices. I travel all over the country every week. And I walk into these 15,000 square foot offices, and there's 4 people in it. All right, so put yourself in the broker's shoes. That's costing them a fortune. So mobility has made it easier. Let's put it this way. It's made it easier for the broker to say, you know what? Let's work something out, because you got an iPad, you got Starbucks, you got a home office. So from a brokerage standpoint, you have to look at the office not being just a big private office. You got to look at the office as being a really cool space that you can hang out in and bring customers in, because real estate is an outside sales business, right? Not an inside sales business. So I know this is a little bit of a transformation for people that have been used to that, but it's something that I think the industry is moving towards. So my final message is to you, embrace change. I'm very glad that you're here because you get it, and I hope your broker gets it too. Thank you.